Welcome to the Taken Hour, a quiet corner of the night where stories move slower than time. As you settle in, let your body soften against the mattress, your breath finding a gentle rhythm. If you wish for more nights like this, you can always return and subscribe in your mind to this little ritual, coming back whenever sleep feels far away. Tonight, we follow a calm, endless road. A driver glides through the dark, dashboard lights dim, engine humming low. The world outside already beginning to blur into something soft, familiar, and strangely comforting. The driver notices it first in the smallest way. The GPS screen shows a straight line and a number, kilometer 137. The voice has long since gone silent, leaving only a gentle glowing arrow that never seems to move. Outside, the road is smooth and dark, marked by white lines that pass like slow, steady waves. Trees rise on either side, silhouettes against a deep blue sky. The world feels paused, as if it is holding its breath. Yet inside the car, there is only warmth, a cocoon of quiet sound and gentle vibration. The driver glances at the clock on the dashboard. An hour has slipped by like a sigh, yet the GPS still shows kilometer 137. The same simple number, calm and unhurried. There is no urgency in it, no warning, just a repetition as gentle as a lullaby. The road outside feels identical, but in a way that soothes rather than alarms. The tires whisper against the asphalt. A faint scent of coffee lingers in the cabin. The night is wide and open, as if it could carry worries far beyond the horizon and out of reach. Curiosity stirs, but only lightly, like a leaf drifting across still water. The driver checks the rear-view mirror and sees nothing but the soft trail of headlights fading into the dark. Ahead, the same gentle curve, the same reflective signs, the same smooth flow of painted lines. The repetition feels like a mantra, each passing meter a quiet word without meaning, just sound and rhythm. Inside, the hum of the engine is steady and slow. Breathing begins to match that rhythm. Longer exhales, slower inhales, the body sensing that nothing sudden will happen here. Another glance at the GPS, more out of habit than concern. Kilometer 137 glows softly in the same place, as if the number has decided to rest there for a while. The driver frowns only for a moment, then lets the expression fade. There is no traffic, no sharp turns, no rush. The car is a moving room lit by quiet, muted colors. Hands rest loosely on the wheel. Outside, the trees appear like patient guardians, standing in rows along the roadside, repeating the same patterns until the mind stops trying to count them. A gentle idea rises. Perhaps it is only a glitch. Technology sometimes wanders, just like thoughts at bedtime. The driver imagines satellites drifting above the clouds, losing track of tiny earthly numbers, then finding them again. It is easier to accept that explanation than to search for others. The road remains kind and predictable, carrying the car like a cradle. The sky deepens, scattered stars becoming faint silver seeds. Far ahead, the faint glow of a distant junction appears, and then fades, as if it were a memory instead of a place. The dashcam sits quietly beneath the rearview mirror, a small, unblinking eye with a tiny red light. It has been recording since the journey began, collecting images of the road that all look the same: lane lines, trees, distant darkness. The driver finds comfort in that quiet witness. If something were wrong, surely it would reveal it later, calmly, frame by frame. For now, it only stares ahead, patient and unhurried. The driver adjusts the seat a little, relaxing shoulders, letting the spine rest, trusting the gentle repetition of the night. Time continues its smooth, velvety drift. The clock shows minutes sliding past, yet the sense of distance refuses to change. Kilometer 137 remains unbothered. The driver begins to notice tiny details. The way one particular tree leans slightly toward the road, the shape of a roadside reflector, the subtle bend in a guardrail. Each time they appear, they look exactly as before. Instead of fear, a strange calm spreads. The world outside becomes a looping lullaby, slowly erasing sharp thoughts and leaving only gentle awareness, like watching the same soft wave reach the shore again and again. The driver tests the loop in the simplest way. The steering wheel is turned slightly to the left, then slightly to the right. a tiny dance of motion. Yet the car drifts back to the center of the lane with effortless ease, as if the road prefers it that way. The GPS line remains unwavering, the number unfazed. Kilometer 137 breathes quietly on the screen. The driver inhales the cool, recycled air and lets it fill the chest. Something about this stretch of highway feels outside ordinary maps, like a forgotten path between waking and sleep. At last, a small patch of wider shoulder appears ahead, a gentle invitation to pause. The driver signals out of habit, even though there is no one to see it, and guides the car to a stop. The engine continues to purr, a soft, familiar heartbeat. Outside, the night air presses against the windows, cool and indifferent. Inside, the dashcam keeps its steady watch. The driver reaches for the device screen, thumb hovering above the controls, ready to look back through the last hour and see if the world has truly been repeating. The dashcam playback begins. On the tiny screen, the road appears in miniature, lane lines pulsing toward the camera, trees flickering by in endless procession. The driver slides through the timeline. Minutes fold back on themselves, and each frame shows the same bend, the same leaning tree, the same glimmer of distant reflectors. No intersections, no exits, no change at all. It is as if the car has glided through a loop, stitched perfectly onto itself, a ring of asphalt floating in the dark. The realization is gentle, not shattering. It feels like discovering a secret lullaby. The driver pauses the video on a random frame. In that still image, the world is peaceful. The road, the guardrail, a patch of sky. Freeze a different moment, and the scene looks exactly the same. Every stop along the recording feels identical, like flipping through the pages of a book where every illustration is repeated. Yet the sameness is strangely reassuring. Nothing dangerous, nothing sudden, just an unbroken pattern. The driver leans back in the seat, listening to the faint ticking of cooling metal, feeling the slow rise and fall of each breath. Outside the windshield, the night does not hurry. A gentle breeze barely stirs the tops of the trees. There are no distant engines, no passing lights, only the far hum of unseen insects. The driver lets the recording continue, the dashcam quietly replaying the loop over and over. Sometime during this quiet observation, a realization forms. This repetition is not a trap, but a holding space, a pause between destinations, a place where the world has chosen to slow down for a while, as if offering a safe harbor for tired minds. Returning to the road feels surprisingly natural. The driver eases the car back into motion, merging with a traffic flow that does not exist. The tires join the whispering song of asphalt again. As the car accelerates, the GPS calmly returns to its straight line and its familiar number. Kilometer 137. Outside, the bending tree appears, then the guardrail, then the same reflective sign. The loop resumes as if nothing had interrupted it. There is comfort in the predictability, like listening to the same calming track on repeat before sleep. Gradually, other senses grow sharper within the safe monotony. The driver notices the subtle vibration of the steering wheel, the soft fabric of the seat, the faint warmth of the air flowing from the vents. Small sounds become musical, a quiet rattle tucked somewhere in the dashboard, the hush of wind brushing against the windows, the engine's low murmur. The mind, freed from navigating and deciding, drifts towards slower, deeper currents. Thoughts lose their hard edges. Worries settle like dust in a glass of water, sinking out of sight until only clarity remains. The sky subtly changes. The stars, once sharp and distant, begin to shimmer more softly, as if a thin veil of mist has risen in the upper atmosphere. Some light appears where there should be none, a faint, pearly glow that does not belong to any town or passing vehicle. It does not flash or approach. It simply exists, a quiet presence in the distance, keeping pace with the car. The driver feels an odd comfort at the edge of perception, like knowing that someone kind is awake while the rest of the world sleeps. As minutes slide by, that distant glow shifts almost imperceptibly. It moves not in front or behind, but alongside, always at the same unreachable distance. Sometimes it feels higher, like a light among the clouds, sometimes lower, like a lantern behind the trees. The driver cannot tell if it is ahead or to the side, only that it is constant, patient, and mild. It casts no harsh beams, only a suggestion of luminescence. The looped road remains unchanged, yet now there is company on this quiet orbit, a silent companion matching every curve. The driver considers turning off the headlights, just for a moment, to see that strange glow more clearly. But the instinct for safety is gentle yet firm, and the lights remain on, casting their steady tunnel of visibility ahead. Still, the peripheral vision catches something. A slender hint of color in that far glimmer, neither entirely white nor clearly any single shade. It feels like a color remembered from a dream. The driver relaxes further, reassured by the steady hum of the engine, allowing curiosity to unfold slowly, without urgency or fear. The radio, which has been silent for a long while, gives a small, harmless crackle. The driver glances at it, half expecting ordinary static. Instead, a faint, almost musical pattern emerges, like distant wind chimes carried through a tunnel. The sound is delicate, spaced out, never loud. It blends with the engine's rhythm, mixing into a soft, evolving melody. No words, no station name, only gentle tones shifting in ways that feel almost intentional. The driver lets them fill the cabin, accepting them as part of the strange, peaceful loop. With every passing kilometer that refuses to change, the mind grows quieter. The repetition strips away distractions, leaving only sensation and sound. The road, the glow, the soft music-like noise from the radio form 3 slow circles around the driver's awareness. There is nothing to chase and nothing to escape, only the feeling of being gently carried. Somewhere far beyond this road, messages and obligations wait. But they cannot reach into this loop. Here, nothing is required. Here, the only task is to continue forward, breathing steadily, watching the same comforting scene unfold. The driver wonders if time itself has loosened a little. The clock still moves, but each minute feels softer, less defined. Instead of ticking forward like a line, it stretches like fabric, wrapping gently around the car. The GPS display remains loyal to its mysterious number, kilometer 137, patiently glowing. The dashcam continues to capture identical scenes. Yet, in a deeper way, something is changing. The driver feels less like a traveler pushing through the night, and more like a guest in a carefully prepared space, invited to rest while unseen hosts tend to the horizon. Those hosts do not show themselves at first. They speak, if it can be called speech, through patterns. The glow brightens and softens in slow pulses that seem to match the driver's breathing. The radio's chime-like tones shift in gentle sequences, almost like a lullaby composed on the fly. The driver experiments, taking a deeper breath, then a longer exhale. The glow and the tones follow, adjusting in sympathy. The realization dawns quietly. Something out there is listening, and it is kind. The road has become a shared rhythm between two forms of awareness. A thought rises, calm and clear. This endless kilometer may not be an error at all. It may be a deliberate design, like a gently spinning ring, built for those who need to drift for a while. The driver imagines the loop as a soft orbit around an invisible center, a place where restless thoughts can slow, settle, and fall quiet. The presence in the glow feels ancient but unthreatening, like a caretaker that has watched many travelers pass, allowing them to circle until they are ready to return to the lines and turns of ordinary roads. Inside the car, the dashboard's symbols seem a little softer, as if their edges have been rounded. The digital numbers glow warmly, no longer carrying the usual weight of schedules and destinations. The driver notices the sensation of hands resting on the wheel, but they feel lighter, as if guided by something beyond muscle and habit. It is as though the road itself is steering, keeping everything centered. The mind drifts to old memories of night drives, familiar songs, and quiet conversations. Yet here, there is only silence, filled by a distant, listening presence. When the driver next looks up, the stars seem rearranged. They are still there, gentle points of light, but in patterns that do not match any remembered constellations. New shapes emerge, arcs, spirals, delicate curves that echo the turn of the highway. The glow in the distance weaves between them, as if moving along invisible threads. The sky becomes a tapestry, not random, but quietly composed. It is easy to imagine that the loop is drifting somewhere slightly aside from the usual world, along a path set aside for nights of deep forgetting and gentle repair. A feeling like gratitude begins to bloom. The driver does not know whom it is for, only that something vast and careful has made space for this moment. Perhaps others have traveled this road without end, bringing their own burdens. Perhaps the glow has watched them all, adjusting its music and patterns to each quiet heart. The idea is comforting. It suggests that no one is truly alone when they slip into the long, late hours, even if every other lane appears empty. There are watchers, not in judgment, but in quiet companionship. The alien presence reveals itself not through shape, but through feeling. A soft warmth spreads from somewhere beyond the windshield, gentle and even. It is like stepping into a beam of morning light, but without the brightness. A sense of being understood without speaking settles in. The driver thinks of the day's worries, and they feel acknowledged, not dismissed. The glow brightens slightly at each remembered concern, then softens as if absorbing it, turning it into something lighter. The loop continues, but the weight that entered it is slowly being traded for ease. The radio's chimes shift again, forming a pattern that feels almost like a response. The driver tests a thought silently. A simple greeting, a quiet hello sent inward rather than spoken aloud. For a moment, nothing changes. Then, slowly, the glow expands in a slow, gentle ripple. The tones in the cabin adjust into a soothing progression, rising and falling, like a friendly nod translated into sound. No words, no images, just an unmistakable acknowledgement. The driver smiles without meaning to, reassured that the silent hello has been heard and welcomed. Encouraged, the driver thinks of home. Faces, rooms, familiar objects drift through the mind. The glow does not interfere or intrude on these images. It simply surrounds them with gentle warmth. Memories of tension, difficult moments, and unfinished tasks are wrapped in softness until they lose their urgency. The looped road remains unchanged, always the same bend, the same sign, the same leaning tree. Yet inside, Something is loosening, like knots being untied one by one. The alien presence is not here to change the world, only to change the way it feels for a while. The driver relaxes further, letting the mind speak freely in silent phrases. Thoughts about worries, regrets, and distant hopes drift forward. Each time one rises, the glow and the tones shift gently, never pushing anything away, only easing the sharp edges. It feels like confiding in someone who will never interrupt, never judge, and never hurry the conversation. The loop provides as much time as needed. Kilometer 137 continues without complaint, without change. A quiet platform where invisible hands are smoothing the creases out of a tired soul. At some unmeasured moment, the driver realizes that the need to understand has faded. There is no pressing desire to learn what the glow is made of, where the road truly lies, or how the loop began. The experience itself is enough. The car is a moving nest, carrying a traveler cradled between stars and unknown watchers. The alien presence seems pleased by this surrender, and the radio's tones become even more delicate, threading through the quiet like silver threads in dark fabric. Everything about the scene invites rest, not answers. The driver blinks slowly, eyelids heavy but safe. The road has proven that it does not need constant vigilance. Something beyond sight is guiding each subtle adjustment, each perfect curve. The hands on the wheel remain, but they feel less responsible, more like a symbolic gesture of participation. The body settles deeper into the seat, muscles loosening in small, barely noticeable releases. Outside, the leaning tree passes again, followed by the familiar guardrail and the glowing sign. Each repetition is like a counted breath in a relaxation exercise, marking the steady descent toward deeper calm. The alien presence begins to share small images, not through the windshield, but directly as impressions in the mind. They are scenes of other roads, other skies, other travelers. A highway under 3 moons, where gentle creatures ride in vehicles shaped like shells. A glass bridge stretching over clouds of slow-moving light. A tunnel formed from living crystal, glowing from within. None of these visions are frightening. They are distant, peaceful, and slow, like stories told by someone who has all of eternity to speak. The driver watches them drift by without effort. Gradually, the driver understands that the loop is not only for human travelers. This place has served many beings, each bringing their own version of urgency and leaving a little lighter. The alien presence is old, but not tired. It seems to enjoy the simple act of company, the way a host enjoys refilling a guest's cup. The glow and tones are its language, and soothing is its purpose. The driver feels honored to be part of this long tradition, one more heart that needed silence and found it on a road without end. The dashboard clock shows that far more time has passed than expected, yet the body does not feel drained. Instead, there is a deep, restful heaviness, like after a long, gentle swim. The driver does a small, careful stretch, fingers flexing, shoulders rolling back against the seat. The glow responds with a sympathetic pulse, as if acknowledging the physical gesture. Outside, the ever-same kilometer flows by like tame river water. The driver senses that the end of this orbit is approaching, not as a sharp turn, but as a slow, natural conclusion. The alien presence offers one final vision, a gentle overlay of the driver's own road, the real one, where exits and towns and responsibilities exist. It appears as a transparent layer above the current scene, like a map drawn on glass. Through it, the loop still runs, calm and indifferent. The message is clear without any words. This endless kilometer is always here, somewhere, accessible whenever needed. The driver need only remember the feeling of the quiet road, the hum, the glow, and the soft tones, and the mind can return. The driver nods slightly, as if agreeing to terms. A quiet promise forms to visit this place again, even if only in memory, whenever the noise of the world grows heavy. The glow brightens a final time, warming the windshield with a light that is not quite physical. The radio's melody softens, fading towards something like a closing cadence, but never fully ending. The road continues, steady as ever. Kilometer 137 still glows on the GPS. Yet now, under that familiar number, a new, subtle symbol appears, like a small sign that the orbit is nearly complete. Slowly, the landscape begins to change. Not dramatically, but with tiny new details. A different type of tree appears, its branches shaped more like those from remembered roads. A faint reflection on the guardrail matches a real-world advertisement once seen long ago. The sky's unfamiliar constellations start to drift into more recognizable patterns. The loop is gently unwinding itself, stitching back into the broader fabric of ordinary travel. The driver feels no disappointment, only gratitude. Rest has been granted. Now movement toward the waking world can resume. The glow pulls slightly away, still visible, but no longer keeping perfect pace. It lingers at the edge of sight, like a friend standing in a doorway as a guest prepares to leave. The radio tones thin out into a gentle background hush, indistinguishable from ordinary static to anyone who has not heard their earlier patterns. The driver senses a soft farewell that needs no words. The loop is releasing its hold, but its presence will not vanish entirely. A part of it has been quietly woven into the driver's memory. The GPS display finally shifts. Kilometer 138 appears, simple and unremarkable. The line on the screen still looks straight, but beneath that calm graphic lies something much more intricate. All the time that has been gently stretched, all the loops that have passed unnoticed by anyone outside this car. The driver feels a momentary pang of surprise at the sudden change, like waking from a nap and realizing how long it has been. Yet the surprise is immediately soothed by the steady comfort left behind by the alien caretaker of the endless road. The ordinary world begins to reappear in subtle signs. A distant glow that belongs to a real town. A faint set of headlights far behind. The familiar pattern of a roadside barrier belonging to known infrastructure. The driver recognizes these as anchor points, gentle reminders of where and when they truly are. And yet, nothing feels quite the same. The body is lighter, the mind clearer, as though a long, needed rest has taken place in the space between numbers on a digital display. The endless kilometer has done its work, and quietly stepped aside. The driver reflects on the experience with a kind of calm wonder. No dramatic revelations, no flashing symbols in the sky, only a looped road, a steady glow, and a gentle rearrangement of inner weight. That is the true gift. A space where nothing outward needs to shift, for everything inward to become softer. The alien presence feels less like a visitor from far away, and more like an old, patient part of the universe, quietly doing what it has always done. The driver smiles, feeling lucky to have found the road without end. As the journey continues toward more familiar surroundings, the driver tests the connection one last time. Inwardly, a simple thought of thanks is sent toward the place where the glow once traveled. For a brief moment, the dashboard lights flicker in a gentle, synchronous way, too subtle to be alarming. The radio shares a single soft chime, perfectly in tune with the thought. Then everything returns to normal. It is enough. The driver understands that the bond remains, thin but unbreakable, a quiet thread connecting ordinary roads to that calm, impossible orbit. The town finally appears ahead, a cluster of warm windows and streetlights nestled against the dark. The driver feels no rush to reach it, content to let the car glide forward at a leisurely pace. After the loop, even small distances seem generous. Each traffic sign and building holds a new softness, no longer symbols of pressure, but simple markers along a path. The endless kilometer has proven that beneath schedules and routes, there is always room for stillness. The driver carries that knowledge like a quiet lantern inside. Later, when the car is parked and the engine turned off, the night feels strangely similar to the loop. The driver sits for a moment, not yet ready to rise. The faint ticking of cooling metal replaces the hum of motion. Outside, the familiar world waits. Inside, the echo of the alien caretaker remains. It is felt in the ease of the breath, the looseness of the shoulders, the quiet absence of the usual racing thoughts. The road without end, though miles away in some hidden fold of reality, is still present in the body. Eventually, the driver steps out into the cooler air. The normal sounds of a sleeping neighborhood surround them. Distant ventilation hum, the rustle of leaves, perhaps a single dog barking far away. Above, the sky is once again ordinary, its constellations recognizable and grounded. Yet, when the driver glances up, there is a momentary impression of unfamiliar stars overlapping the known ones, like a double exposure. It fades quickly, leaving only comfort. The alien presence does not insist on being remembered. It trusts the feeling it left behind to do the work. In the quiet of a darkened room, the driver lies down and notices how easily the body settles. The mattress feels like an extension of the car seat, gently shaped by the same unseen care. Each inhale is deep without effort. Each exhale leaves the chest a little lighter. Memories of the eternal kilometer drift in, the repeating bend, the leaning tree, the patient glow. They pass by like slow-moving scenery on the other side of closed eyelids, reassuring and unhurried. There is no need to hold on to them tightly. They will return whenever invited. As drowsiness deepens, the driver imagines re-entering the car in thought. The door closes with a soft click. The dashboard lights rise no brighter than candle flames, and the GPS calmly returns to its fixed number. Kilometer 137, ready to provide the same gentle loop whenever needed. The alien glow appears again in the distance, not demanding attention, simply present. The radio's tones begin their distant chimes, less like music and more like breathing translated into sound. The mind drifts back onto the endless road, this time without any physical movement at all. In that imagined drive, thoughts start to blur. The driver no longer distinguishes between real pavement and remembered asphalt, between metal bodywork and the sensation of being carried. The road is now a feeling rather than a place, a smooth, seamless continuity that accepts whatever is placed upon it and gently moves it forward until it is lighter. The alien caretaker is closer here than ever, surrounding the car and its occupant, letting them float along a path that needs no destination, a ribbon of comfort threading through the quiet of the night. The driver realizes that the loop has taught a simple lesson, that rest is not always found by stopping, but sometimes by moving in a circle where nothing is demanded. The endless kilometer offered that circle, turning motion itself into a kind of stillness. Even now, as sleep approaches, the memory of that motion soothes the nervous system. The body recalls the consistent hum, the predictable landmarks, the reassuring glow keeping pace. The mind understands that it can step back into that pattern whenever needed, riding the orbit until peace returns. As dreams begin to rise, the first images are of distant roads under strange skies. There are highways lit by floating lanterns, bridges made of starlight, and tunnels of gently rippling color. None of them are frightening. All of them feel like extensions of the same welcoming network, the same interwoven paths tended by unseen caregivers. The driver drifts peacefully among them, unafraid of losing the way, confident that every route will eventually lead back to safety. The road without end is no longer a single place, but a whole family of calm journeys. In one dream, the driver sees the endless kilometer from above. The car moves along it like a tiny, glowing seed, tracing the same curve again and again. Around the loop, faint outlines of other travelers appear, some not human at all, their vehicles strange and beautiful. Each one is wrapped in its own envelope of light, each one moving at the pace that its occupant needs. The alien caretaker watches them all, neither near nor far, radiating patience. The loop is not a trap, it is a shared sanctuary in motion. Another dream reveals the first moment the driver unknowingly entered the loop. It was only a simple decision to take a quieter route, to avoid traffic, to follow a suggestion from the navigation system. That modest choice opened a doorway into something vast and gentle. The driver realizes that these doors may exist everywhere, hidden in ordinary options, waiting to offer rest. The alien caretaker does not force anyone to use them. It only keeps them ready. The thought is comforting. Help can arrive through the smallest, most unremarkable turns. When the driver stirs slightly on the bed, half asleep, the feeling of the steering wheel is still present in the hands. It is not heavy, just a phantom memory, like the echo of a touch. The heartbeat is slow and regular. Thoughts feel wider, less cramped. Even the memories of stress from earlier in the day seem distant, as if they belong to someone else. The road without end continues somewhere beyond the window, but it no longer needs to be physically traveled. Its pattern has been copied into the driver's inner landscape. Time passes in that hazy boundary between sleep and waking, and the driver returns again and again to kilometer 137. Sometimes the car is seen from inside, sometimes from above, sometimes as a simple point of light moving along a line. Each perspective reinforces the same message, that there is always space to pause, to loop, to be held gently while the world waits outside the circle. The alien caretaker appears only as softness, as understanding, never demanding to be named or defined. It is content to remain a feeling rather than a figure. Gradually, the dreams deepen into quieter, more abstract shapes. Roads fade into streams of color, cars into drifting points of warmth. The sensation of being carried remains, but its form dissolves. The driver floats through layers of calm, each one slower and softer than the last. Somewhere within those layers, the alien caretaker continues its work, smoothing stray thoughts, reinforcing the memory of safety. The loop is now less a road and more a gentle cycle of breath. In, out, in, out, endlessly repeating until every part of the body understands that it is safe. Near the quietest depths of sleep, the driver senses a final, tender message. It is not spoken or shown, only felt as a simple assurance that whenever the noise becomes too loud again, the road will be waiting. The endless kilometer is not locked to a particular place. It can appear in the pause between two thoughts, in the steady rhythm of footsteps, in the moment of staring out a window on a restless night. The alien caretaker can reach through any of those openings, ready to spin a short, safe orbit around a tired mind. Eventually, morning approaches. The sky outside begins to pale, even if the driver has not yet opened their eyes. The world will soon ask for attention again, for decisions, for movement along roads that truly end. But something has changed. The driver now carries the feeling of the loop inside, a quiet certainty that there is always a way to step aside from urgency, if only for a little while. The alien caretaker has left a trace of its presence, like a gentle echo, impossible to see, but easy to recognize whenever calm is needed. When the driver finally wakes fully, stretches and sits up, the memories of the night may seem distant, like a half-remembered film. Yet, as feet touch the floor, a lightness in the chest and clarity in the mind say otherwise. The road without end was real enough to leave its mark. Every ordinary street, every simple commute will carry a faint familiarity now, as if each one might conceal a secret doorway to the loop. The driver smiles quietly, knowing the caretaker of that hidden orbit is never truly far. As the day unfolds, small moments pause longer than they used to. A red light at an intersection becomes a tiny rest stop instead of an irritation. A slow-moving line of cars feels less like a barrier and more like an opportunity to breathe. The driver knows these sensations are gifts from the loop, subtle reminders that stillness can exist even when everything appears to be moving. Somewhere, kilometer 137 spins on, unchanged and eternal. The alien caretaker continues to watch, ready to catch any traveler who needs a gentle orbit around their burdens. Returning home that evening, the driver passes a familiar stretch of highway. The road is ordinary, with exits and signs and other travelers. Yet, for a moment, as the car glides through a gentle curve, the scene aligns perfectly with a memory from the endless kilometer. The leaning of a tree, the angle of a barrier, the pattern of lane lines. It is as if a tiny piece of the loop has been laid down here like a thin overlay. The driver feels a brief, quiet touch of that alien calm and acknowledges it with a breath. That night, before sleep, the driver returns in thought to the taken hour, the invisible channel of nights where this story lives. There is no need to turn on a device to find it. It exists now as a personal ritual, a gentle remembering of the endless road, the patient glow, and the soft chimes. Inwardly, the driver subscribes again to this practice, choosing to revisit it whenever rest feels far away. As eyes close, the mind steps back onto kilometer 137, where the alien caretaker is already waiting, ready to loop and soothe once more. And so, the circle continues. The car glides along the same gentle curve. The GPS returns to its familiar number, and the leaning tree stands watch beside the road. The glow keeps pace, radio tones murmuring like distant, friendly breathing. Each repetition is another counted breath, another chance to release tension, another reminder that there is a place where nothing is required but presence. The road without end does not mind being revisited. It was built for this. Whenever you drift back here, it will be exactly as you left it, ready to start the loop again.